Okay, recording again. Alright, now I might have to use one of my smaller erasers. This kind of a little baby erasers are pretty nice to have. The Tombow Mono Zero, they make them very small. There's one that's like rectangular, and then one that's a cylinder. The cylindrical one is really, really small, and honestly, I find it to be a little tough to work with at times because it's so thin. It kind of bends when I try to erase with it. But there are other bigger ones like this one, which is good. Although, like this one's like the eraser's kind of dried up and it just kind of scuffs the surface. So I think I'm going to throw that away and get a new, just get some fresh ones in there. But for the time being, this works well. Now, I'm going to clean this guy up. So the idea with what I want you to be able to do is use perspective to figure out how to draw anything that you need to draw. So if you understand, like this, starting with something rectangular and drawing in, 2-point perspective, you're just drawing boxes, rectangular volumes, and then shaping them to look like specific pieces of furniture. Hey, Joey is out here now, tearing up my furniture. Ungrateful little cat. That's okay. I like them better than I like the furniture. It's a very old, junky sofa that I might replace one day. Okay. Alright, so some of this are really that for maybe for my blender. Okay. Just I want to clean this up so I can see my surfaces clearly, get a lot of the stray marks out. Because once you put the marker down, any pencil that's underneath it is going to be sealed into the surface of the paper. And so if you don't want it there, you don't want those, any of the guidelines or any of the just like stray marks from sketching it, then erase them before you apply marker. Sometimes I do, I actually do combine the marker and pencil on purpose. But I think in this case I want to just try to start it from a bit more. That's not straight. See, that's the problem of just guessing at a vertical. It's not at all straight. And as with so much in design, the ability to just like making decisions in design often just comes down to your judgment, and you learn to have decent judgment in design by experience. If you've never had to make a decision about which version of a product to buy or which color And you don't really know until you use it. I mean, you learn a little bit about, the products and so, when you're designing, putting it into a space, you just have to develop your own judgment for what's good. That needs to be. It's a pretty straight edge there. That's better. Okay. So I would want to just make sure that if I'm drawing this for any reason, that it looks enough like the Knoll sofa that no one, that someone might get it. It might look like a lot of other sofas or settees, but if you've identified that in the selection of furnishings and materials, then it would be clear if you drew this that is in fact the Knoll settee. So it's not as if this has to carry the entire. It has to communicate the identity all by itself. It's part of a larger project. Okay. Dang it! There's always something. This little back leg here. Little marks. Okay, that's better. All right. Stuff off of there. Good. One minute. Just make sure Joey's not even getting into any trouble. All right, so as I recommend, you work lightly. 0, my blender, and here. Okay. Oh, there's that little baby. All right. Wow. All right. So I can see this. So the marker, application of the marker. If you're trying to make a smooth, put this down on a smooth, smoothly, you have to go back and forth. If you make a mark, lift it, make a mark, lift it. It can tend to look a little more stripy. The marker is liquid coming out of the marker, so it sort of flows and gets absorbed by the paper. So here I'm just making some quick marker strokes. If I'm trying to create a fade, I can do that. I put it down where I want it. It helps that I've got a little pencil there because it's going to darken the marker a little bit. But I just sort of brush it and lift it as I make the marker stroke, and then it gives it a lighter appearance. darker in the seam, so I'm just going to darken the seam a little bit. That seems more in shadow. Yeah, good. So this marker can go down pretty quickly. I'm just going to start with like that. Joey, I just took Joey out of the bedroom to come out here. He can't really be with the other cats. He wants to go back to the bedroom because he knows that there are 2 cats in his territory. Right? Come here, my little tiger. Maniac. Now, I think I might. This looks kind of funny to kind of grid that a little bit. I see the seams in it. Go back over with a little bit of that. I'm going to come back to this. Okay. So this, this little bit that I have here, I think that's mostly enough right there. So I think getting comfortable with this idea of just sketching your marker rather than trying to articulate everything. There, let's put a little shadow under there. We'll see what happens if I try to erase. Some of this pencil's not going to come up because I put marker over it. So be careful. Okay, these seams, it curves a little bit, not too much. I'm not going to make it too strong of a line. That's a little funny looking, but oh well. That's a little bit too tall right there, but oh well. Just roll with it. Okay, if I want this darker, I can darken that there, or pencil. Let's see what happens. Sharpen. Okay. These pencil sharpeners, turning it like this will sometimes break that in the, with the soft colored pencil. I sometimes whittle my colored pencils so that I don't get that torque from turning it. And this is this pencil sharpener is made of brass, so it's nice and heavy, which when you tighten the screw for that blade, it tends to give it a little more stable resistance. These blades dull, but you can reorder them, and with a little tiny Phillips head screwdriver, you can take the blade out and put a new one in. If you know someone that knows how to sharpen blades, you can also sharpen that. But you got to sharpen it at the right angle, otherwise it'll either try to take too big of a bite out of the pencil, or it won't be enough. And Elliot has found a way to choke himself, so I'm going to go do that. All right, so the black colored pencil on the side can be kind of nice too. It's definitely stronger than a graphite pencil. Better. Now this, the colored pencils are really soft, and so they'll lose their point pretty quickly. You can use like this if you ever like encountered one of these drafting. It's just like for sharpening, like the point on a lead holder, like a lead that's in a lead holder, and it's a quick way to just put a point back on it. Don't let the straight edge move while you're drawing. Let's try that again. Put that on there. Better. Better. All right. So with the colored pencil, if you use the side of it, now hold it with my fingertips like that. You have to. You can't. If you're holding it the way you write, you can't. You can't flatten the angled pencil at all. You just have to hold it tightly with your fingertips, and similar to like drawing straight lines, you just like move, hold it, lock it up, lock it in there. Don't move your fingers or your wrist, and just move your arm. Good. Now, I also, my tendency when I'm making these lines is not to make them all the way like hard, solid, same line width all the way. Tends to look better. And I can do that a little bit more like a straight. All right. One thing that's also nice with this pencil on, like most paper will have some kind of a texture to it, so it can kind of give it a little bit of the appearance of the like a fabric upholstery. If I just like let the pencil, if I like lightly run it over the surface, you can still see a little bit of the paper showing through. Whoop, I need to do that up here. A little bit of the paper showing through, and it gives you a little bit of some like texture.
Hey, Professor, I'm still kind of confused on like what we should be shading. You said assuming that the light's coming from above, we
Yep.
do it in a vertical way, like.
So yeah, so you've got like on this sofa, you've got a lot of different vertical surfaces,
Mhm.
and if I can say like the light's coming from above, but like maybe maybe it's coming from over here. Maybe the light's over here. Yeah, maybe a little goofy, crazy sun. coming that way. Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Okay. So here, I mean, as long as you've got some kind of logic to it, then I might say there's a little bit of there's a little space between the cushions, and so there's a let's see a little bit out of that. All right, microphone. All right, right back. Just one moment, please. Okay. All right. Does that make sense to say, just like if the light's over here, it's coming from this direction, and so surfaces that are facing away from the light are in shadow, and then you've got some that are a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That makes sense.
Good.
Thank you.
Yep. Now, really, if you're inventing an interior, like an image of an interior space, it's up to you to decide where the light's coming from. And really, the idea of just like having some logic to the light, to a light source, allows you to depict volume, and that's really what's important. Whoever's got the microphone on, could you please turn your microphone off? All right. Now here, you should be able to see this as clearly as possible. So I put some of this gray, like the pencil on there, trying to make this look gray. If I marker down on it, trying to smooth it out. I want to be careful I don't run down over that metal frame too much. That. Okay. And you want to watch the direction of your marker strokes so that you don't get like I think like if I make vertical marker strokes here, it can help me to communicate that there's a vertical surface. If I do diagonal marker strokes and they show, then it could look kind of just like visually confusing. A little smaller so I don't take it out of the frame so easily. But here, pulling this out, as long as I'm running the marker as much as possible in the direction that the surface goes, it should be okay. Okay. It's too high up there. Oh well, that's I think my drawing will live. Okay, that's not bad. This is a decent drawing right here. I think this is enough for this. Yep, that's enough for that guy. Yeah, I could make this a little bit more. Maybe I could make this a little bit more like. Trying to sketch the different like sections of the upholstery without without trying. I don't want to try to make it like draw every last detail. I could be a little difficult to do it and make it look good. You want it to look good. You don't want it to look strange. That's a little hard to explain to someone that like, it's accurate, but it looks weird. They don't really want to hear that. Okay, so that's that guy. How about would you like to see me draw this again from a different angle? Or would you like me to see me draw something else like the chair?
What about something that maybe has like more curves, that's not necessarily rectangular in shape? You know what I mean?
Okay, good idea. Let's see. Well, there are so many things to draw that have curves. Right, now I want to encourage you to draw things like if you're drawing something that's complicated and curving and this is a little bit new to you, it might just be a little bit too much. So I want you to challenge yourself, but be careful of taking on something too difficult. That being said, I like the idea of challenging oneself. Just go back to there. Good. All right. Well, what shall we do? I'm going to look at the Knoll website and
What about trying like Eames' chair or maybe a Jacobson chair?
Johnny Jacobson. Okay, good. Let's try the. Let's see. Let me pull up a. All right, let's. Well, I think we want. Are you thinking like the egg chair or the ant chair or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Lawn chair. No, I think I like the. I like the swan. All right, I'm going to share this with you so you can see it, everyone at home there. Share this. You can see the swan chair. Right there. From the Danish design store. So this is one of those classic mid-century modern, like Danish design. People still use it. People still use this as a futuristic looking chair. No, and I guess that speaks to the success of the design. That it's people still think of this as being something that is cool and futuristic. So I will go back to the overhead, and if you want to see, just look up the Jakobsen swan chair. Okay. All right, so you can see the seat and the back are draw this about there. I'm going to turn it draw this a little bit. So if you start, I recommend starting with it, not trying to draw those curves exactly from the very beginning. But if it's got a seat that is approximately horizontal, and it's got a back that is approximately vertical, I think, a lot of chairs, probably most chairs, you could start drawing them like this. I see the base of that is down there. Now it does not have, it's got that the four-leg star base, sort of like a star base thing. It's not going to have legs coming down, but if I can know, like, where's the square underneath the chair, then I can fit that into it. Okay. The side of the chair is if I draw that like that, because these arms come up, then I can take from here, I can try to like make a U curve, maybe let it move out a little bit. That's going to curve there. I think from here I can't see that inside, but this like that. Does that process make sense?
Yes.
So it can be, it's a lot easier to memorize drawing just like a box up, like, so basically like a chair that is just very generic and rectangular. This I think needs to be wider. So here's like where I'll try to like shape the chair, the back of the chair here, so that it looks like the Jakobsen design. And then here, this curve, this is like a little more tapering curve for the side, the way that comes up there, a little thinner. Maybe it comes up a little higher. I'm looking at this space between the arm and the back, and it's just like, just try to get like how narrow that is. And bring this up, I'm going to bring that up a little bit more. There. That's pretty good. So I think that's I would recommend you use that. Now, if you also can try to imagine this curve comes down and connects here. I don't know if that helps. It might help with how this curve comes down, but sort of drawing through the solid side there. Okay, I might shorten that a little there. Take that out a little bit there, and then I've got it's all this like this curving, like the seat will curve. So I'll show that. And if you look at it, you can see there's glare on the leather down on the seat. So there's like it's like darker here, darker on this edge. There's glare here. There's glare there. I'll show you how to do that. Some of that you can do with white pencil if you choose a dark enough brown. This post, the center post for the legs, I can get rid of these verticals. And when I began the chair, I approximated that square for the base. So if I cross the diagonals of that square and find the approximate center, that's where this central post comes down. Makes it easy to find it. I'm going to approximate the length of that. There, and then look, my diagonals, you can just do this like out. If it needs to come like here, you can do it like that. Just draw it out to the sides. And just, you can also find that. Let me go back to this. I found the middle. For the post by crossing the diagonal. If it's about there. It's a little bit off the floor, so I think I might want to shorten that a little bit. And there's also another, like, it's a little wider there. Like maybe it's just because it's adjustable or something. Okay. So if you can see, I've got these diagonals crossing here. Based on the photo, the leg comes like this, like the legs go like this way. So wherever I find the middle, from the vanishing point, through that, whoops, that is that right? That is right. This one is not. Okay, oh boy, that's really goofed up. Oh well. I guess I hope I'm close enough. That's what my actual middle is. Oops. I'm gonna try that again. So if I have my, I can see I was really too soft on my, I think I had it about back here. It's a little hard to do this now, but I'm going to try it. Let's see how close I was. How close I am. That's the center right there. Move that a little bit. Trying to just make this look right for the way I drew that. That's good. Now I've got the middle. There. Yep, the middle is about there, which means Yeah, this is close enough. From the center, no, from up there, don't miss it. If you miss it, then you get things in the wrong spot. That's why you make sure you have a sharp pencil. And when I'm doing this, put the point on the mark that I'm drawing from, and then do that. So what this does, if I find the center, and then I draw through the center from the vanishing point, I get the midpoint of each of the four sides of the square, and then I can draw those legs to it, like that. That's why I needed to know. So I think this, for a seat, for a chair like the Swan chair, having that base approximated as a square on the floor is a very important thing to have. And I think they may be a little bit, if it looks like these are too short, just like eyeball it and widen them. There, that's pretty good. Yeah, well, I think it might be good enough for right now.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
So on that part on drawing the legs, how would you do something like the pilot Knoll chair, the low back? They're not as close to the ground.
Is it the same kind of four legs that come out from a post?
It's 3 legs, but yeah, they come out from a center post.
Okay. 3 legs. If you had that, I would still, if you find the center, this post would still come down. You might have it be like that. You use like 2 corners here and then the center of one side, or maybe it would have to be like it would be like close to the corner, but maybe like here and then there and then there. So if you had that, I guess if I'll just try to reproduce that square here, and you had the middle, oops, you can't see that. So I have that. I might have like the center here. I mean, it might not be like from here to there. It might be more like it's a little bit off to there, and it would be wider, but it might be that it's like it would be like these 2 corners and then the middle of this. So something like that.
Okay.
So, but it would help you to get it in perspective if you know like the midpoint of like one of these sides where you've got the one falls there and the other 2 fall back there. Yeah, that's good. Well, when I started teaching at Harrington back 20 years ago, it was really adventurous for me because I had not drawn furniture or really anything in perspective like this. I knew perspective mostly from life drawing and observational drawing, where you just get good at foreshortening surfaces accurately. And so the students were always like, how do you draw like the Noguchi sofa? Have you seen like the crazy, like curvy Noguchi sofa? And like, how do you draw that? And I'm thinking, I don't know. Why do you want to draw that? That's hard. But of course, I'm teaching the class, so I had to figure it out. And So it was really actually kind of fun because I learned a ton thanks to all of the students who wanted to know how to draw difficult things, and that's good because you should want to know how to draw things that are interesting, and interesting usually means it's a little challenging to draw. Okay. Yeah, I think this comes down deeper here. This is the problem. I'm looking at the photograph and I'm looking at my drawing and thinking like, why does it not look right? I think that's should come down farther. And then like the curve of this could just be challenging. Like there's a little bit of a arch to the top. And I think the best, yeah, you just got to get it as close as you can. The best of your ability. There is a seam here that comes down to over there. Good. That's good. This is good. Now, it's my pen. Good. Yeah. I find that if I have a nice like a decent fountain pen like this, I'll use it more. I like the flare, like the felt tip pens. Those like Pilot or whatever brand, the little like thin felt tip pens are nice too. But these are refillable, and I got tired of buying disposable pens and just throwing away too much plastic. All right, now this. I'm trying to make this like a little more graceful gesture there. Now, if you are using a black colored pencil with marker, it might not really be that necessary. Yeah, totally missed that. Might not be so necessary to ink, but I think the ink can be nice to have just because it's so clear and dark. Go. And I have to change the angle that I draw at all the time, so I move around. I'm not going to move. I don't want to turn the paper sideways because I might have a hard time seeing it. You can see that this is a little bit like there. There. Good. Good. And also, when you ink this, then you can just like take all this stray graphite off of it and then reveal your, oops, you missed a little bit, but when I shade that, I'll just try to hide that as much as I can with the marker. Let's see here. How about just use the get into color. Here, that's a nice color. That's perfect for this leather. I'm going to use the brown. All right, so I see it is. Let's see if I can just do this where I make it all. In some places here, I think I'm going to just leave it Try to leave a little bit of the white on it. Okay, that's okay. It's not exactly the photo I'm looking at, but if I leave some of this white, I can make it look like it's that shiny glare on the upholstery. Now with the markers, once it dries, and you put more marker over it, it will darken it. Kind of depends on your paper sometimes, and some marker brands are much more, it shows up better. But like here, I want to make it darker here and let it get lighter up there. So I'm not going to go all the way over the whole surface. This shows up. Hey, pretty good. I'm efficient today. Pencil. Brown pencil, brown pencil. It's probably this one. Test your pencils. That's good. Also good. I might combine it with some black. Is that black? Yeah, that's black. Okay. I have one that's an indigo blue it's like it's very dark. It's hard to tell the difference in the barrel of the pencil sometimes. So I sometimes grab the indigo and don't mean to. All right. So you can see as this dries, it lightens. It's not so. It's not such a. It doesn't show up so much. Now the color, sometimes just like darkening with the color can work well. But sometimes if, especially if it's like a more saturated base color, you can end up just making it look more saturated and not really like a shadow. But here, the pencils allows me a little more control. So when I'm coming down to do the some places where I want some transition in the shading or in the color. I want to choose the brown pencil instead of more marker. Sometimes it also happens where, like with this marker, I'm only going to get so much on that paper before the paper is saturated, kind of saturated with marker, and I'm just trying to put marker on top of marker. Now I've got pencil there, so I can use the marker again to kind of smear it a little bit. The marker is liquid, and it'll sort of pick up the pencil and get it almost like make it liquefy it or put it in, like make it a little bit like a paste or something. That's good. It's looking more like I really like that shine. It looks like kind of like a cartoon, a little too cartoonish. All right. But there's also, there are also limits to how much you can just do the marker, like these two, like the brown marker, brown pencil, and it's only going to get so dark. So you might need to come back with the pencil, like the black pencil, for just a little bit more. Not solid, I'm not going to try to make it solid on there. I'm just going to layer it over the brown to make the brown look darker. Oh, I like that. I just took the pencil and made this like tapering line where the pressure, I pressed harder and pulled it and made that kind of nice line there. There. I might be starting to overdo it a little bit, but let's see what that actually has. Better. Okay. I think, and I think if I have communicated clearly the style of the style of the chair and the color of the upholstery and a little bit about the finish of the upholstery, I should stop. And then on this steel, just a little bit of that is good. I might use this, since I'm using the colored pencil, I might put a little bit of this on it to suggest some of that the dull reflection that you get off of a brushed stainless. It's cool. Yeah, that's good. There, and I think I don't love this like super bright spot because even though that leather is light there, it's not really that bright. I'm going to put some color down on a piece of tracing paper. The tracing paper is not, it's not going to soak it up. It's going to just sit on the surface. And I'll take my colorless blender. Make sure there isn't some residual color on there, and maybe just like, oh, that's not really working. There we go. That's better. So the colorless blender has just got like, it's basically like got the medium, which is acetone, some kind of alcohol-based solvent, and it's just, it doesn't have any color in it. It's just that like that solvent medium. So like if I just draw with it, like the color will just kind of run out, and then it's clean to use for something else. Now that, I might try to come around here and pick up a little bit of that extra, oops, watch out. That. Shadow on the bottom. Maybe just like, pull the shadow a little bit away from the base like that. And that's good. There, egg chair. Just in case you couldn't tell, that is Arne Jacobsen. That's a swan chair, that's not the egg. Ta-da! Man, that's tiring. Yep. So it's not perfect, but it's good enough. Okay. But again, that starting that chair. All right. As a you can do this for all kinds of chairs, and like Hope, you're talking about like the Barcelona chair. You start it like this, and then you just like know that these like it's got to have to be angled for the pitch of the seat, and then you sort of like angle the back out. The top that still goes to that left vanishing point. The seam goes to that left vanishing point. The front edge of the seat goes to that vanishing point. But like the seat here, instead of like the sides of the seat, instead of going to that vanishing point, you just have to approximate an angle downward. Like that. And then the pitch back, you just try to get it so that it has the appropriate angle without looking like it's like gonna like a sort of like gonna like fold out flat. And that's just challenging. This like the if I say like it's this far off the floor, the frame of it curves from the back all the way to the front, and then this goes like there, and the cross is like almost right below the seam there. You won't see it on this side, but Barcelona chair is a challenge because of all of the unique design features. And this is too. I think I would not have it angle back so much. I think I would just have the seat back, especially from this view. Oh, the eraser's old. I need get a new one. It's starting to kind of fall apart, dissolve on me. More. It's really have any of you ever sat in a Barcelona chair? I think this is not enough. If you look up Barcelona chair, you will see that the angle of like the seat and the back are like, it's really steep, and it's meant to be like when you sit in it, it just holds you there. And it's really good for support while you're sitting in it. Getting out of it, like you realize like you got to use your core muscles to get out, and that can be a challenge. I know I've shared this in the history class. A friend of mine is a librarian up at the Skokie Public Library, and they used to have some like someone donated some facsimile like some Barcelona chairs, and they used them, but a lot of folks, like a lot of older folks who used the library, and they sat in the Barcelona chairs, and then when they tried to get out, they couldn't get out. There are no arms. There's nowhere to like push off of, and they had no choice. They were calling for help to get out of the chairs, which was kind of funny, but not funny. They eventually just got rid of them because really, like, the only other way to get out of the chair without help would just be to roll over sideways and fall out of it, and you don't want old folks doing that.
Have you sat in one, Ducky?
I have. They're very comfortable. They're very.
Were you able to get out of it?
I was, because I do my core exercises, and work on my abs.
That's good.
um, I, um, yeah, I try a little pride where I used to be like a competitive distance runner in high school and college, and so I always feel like I should operate at least a minimal level of physical fitness. But that's easier said than done sometimes when you get busy with life. So like finding where the curve comes down, I find drawing through that chair helps me to get like this curve here. And then the front. Sometimes in perspective it can be tough because like the way you should draw it's not that high up in the front, which means it's going to be pretty low down here. And it can really be like you've got to like really quickly curve that and foreshorten it a lot and keep it from going out too far down here, because really it should just fit like right in there. And then that shouldn't come up too far into the back. Yeah. That's better, I think, as a basis for a Barcelona chair. Then you've got that you can see the frame, and they're like leather straps that hold the seat onto the frame. Yeah. There's a lot of, it's actually pretty, it's like this panel, like the big, like the back and the seat are actually pretty large. I think it's like 3 by 4 buttons, and so it's not a small chair. And yeah, and if you ever have a chance to get one, if you want one, they are expensive even now. I think it's about $10,000 if you buy it from Knoll. Knoll still manufactures that chair. I think it's around $10,000 or $12,000 for one of those made by Knoll. So, but if you're starting up a law firm, you're moving into new offices, and you want your clients to see that you're successful, you put Barcelona chairs in your lobby, because it shows everyone that at least you know what quality is. You know what a good chair design is. Yeah, it's tough. And this leg, the leg comes down. It's just this like steel band, and it comes down and just gradually curves and then rests on the floor like that. And the other one here, and if you draw that down, might fit right in there. Yeah, and this is probably a little bit too thick for the seat. The cushion is pretty thin. Take that off the top. Yeah. So if you're doing this and you think like, well, that looks pretty tough, I would suggest that you can choose a simpler piece of furniture. You don't have to draw the Swan chair. You don't have to draw the Barcelona chair. You can draw Florence Knoll furniture. You can draw just like rectangular. You can draw rectangular stuff. And that's okay. I want you to learn how to use perspective to draw things for interior spaces, and so that's really what this assignment is really all about. And I also know that it can be challenging, so your first efforts might not it might take you longer to do them, or even just like you might not be able to figure out how to draw something that you want to draw. I want you to be able to draw what you want to use in designs. And that's sometimes what you want, something that's really cool, but it's hard to draw it. So you should work on how to draw it rather than decide that you're going to, I mean, sometimes you might have to change your design or what you choose to draw early on in your time in school because you really don't know how to do it. But eventually you want to learn how to draw things that are like, that match your taste and what you would use. And when you're working with a client, it's not really about what you want, it is what they want. And truly a lot of like drawing like this in a lot of like professional settings, you might not draw so much for like the finished project, but if you can draw when you're talking to a client, it can be really useful as a communication tool. And if you could just like sketch out, once you like go through this process and you've drawn the swan chair enough, then by the way, the marker does bleed through, so be careful of your surface below. And you'll get through there. If I want to draw this like horizon line, I'm going to draw like a 1-point space. And have just like say, okay, we're going like this. We got this nice big wall of windows in your modern building or condo, and we've got, we'll just put like a egg chair here. Once I draw this, and this is the swan chair, once I figured out how to draw it, if I can sketch it and make it look about right, I might be able to just abbreviate how I'm using perspective. I might have like a table there, some kind of cool chandelier thing. I want a reading light or something. Maybe I'll have like a cool, like weird more artistic and sculptural pendant light hanging down here that's plugged in. There. And this is the lake. This is the lake. Oopsie, that's two. The lake front. But I'm gonna quarter up the window. I think I might take that table and put it here. And why am I just going to stick a dumb table right in front of that beautiful window? Right? here. My other egg chair, I'm going to put it there. Base of it, top of it, there. Turn it a little bit more to the side. Close enough. It's going to be a little more like there. So like once you know, if you know perspective well enough, you can like kind of like start knocking out something that is close enough in terms of perspective that somebody could understand it. But if you have this like, it's basically like well, why don't we take these swan chairs and put them over here? You know, this is a lot faster than doing something using any kind of digital media, except if you're using an iPad and pencil, like Apple Pencil, and like something like the a digital drawing app like Procreate, which I used. I use it. I use it on my. I do like drawing with that one, but you already have to know how to draw in order to use it, and I find that the pencil on paper is probably the best way to learn how to draw because that's most familiar. There. Does that make sense what I'm doing right here?
Yes.
Yes, it makes sense. I hope it does. I don't want to, you know, if it doesn't make sense, you could say like that's just too confusing. And then I'll say, all right, well, you're not doing this yet. I want you to get to where you can draw. So if this is a gigantic painting, I think I'll put that edge of the painting there. You don't want people leaning their head back on the painting. That's bad for the painting and kind of gross. Oh, let's make art. Make some like weirdo modern painting there. Yeah, that's cool. These guys out of there, and now in here and clean this up. Better. Take that. Whoops, I can't put that there. The angle is better. I got to do that so I can actually fit that leg in there. That little bit, that part of the base. Then, look at me. I might just put in shadow. First. You know, I find that sketching an abbreviated sketch like this, you have to know what you're doing first. So drawing really, you know, like a slow drawing and figuring out how to do it, that's how you would eventually arrive at being able to do something like this. Let's see, like aluminum mullion there, modern framing. That's nice. And then right over this shadow, I might do that. That down, that level. The gray is not really showing up much. But this allows me to communicate the color of the upholstery. Yeah. This marker isn't. I know this marker is starting to run out of color, but that's actually good because then I can just like loosely sketch in that that's some blue sky out there. But it's a little farther. This is ahead of where we're at. But I wanted to show you a little bit of the application of it. Because that helps. That might help to make it more, make more sense, and then show you where I would want you to get with it. And hopefully that'll inspire you or spur you on to do more with it. And you take your time and you learn what's right. Then I can approximate it very easily here if I'm practiced with what actually looks right. So, okay.